You're acting like Donald Trump filmed a TV commercial at a gravesite. He was there providing emotional support to a lot of brave Americans who lost loved ones they never should have lost, and there happened to be a camera there.
Oh, there happened to be a camera there? How stupid do you think we are? He was just called to provide emotional support, a thing he does all the time away from the cameras. And oh, look at that, a camera. This was the video Trump posted, of course, to his social media that day.
We lost 13 great people. What a horrible day it was. We didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then they took over that disaster, the leaving of Afghanistan.
That's a campaign ad filmed in Arlington, obviously. Also, we didn't lose one person in 18 months. Dozens of U.S. service members died in action under Donald Trump. That's been erased. No ceremony for them, no ad, certainly. So that's Trump going to military cemetery to film a video reminding viewers of the U.S. deaths during the withdrawal from Afghanistan, blaming his successor for them, of course, without mentioning that Trump tied Joe Biden's hands by agreeing to a withdrawal timeline set by the Taliban.
We have a real problem in this country when half of America, or at least they pretend to be half of America, can't see who Donald Trump really is. And perhaps it's even worse because even if they see who he is, they justify it or they like it. The fact that he has absolutely no respect for anyone, including the very soldiers over which he wishes to serve as commander-in-chief. This is evidenced by the fact that this week when Donald Trump went to Arlington National Cemetery underneath the guise of commemorating the 13 American soldiers who died in Afghanistan during the withdrawal, that, by the way, was scheduled and facilitated by the Trump administration in negotiation with the Taliban, not with the Afghanistan government that the United States spent years trying to support. Instead of working with the Afghanistan government, Donald Trump's administration worked directly with the Taliban, committing the Biden administration to a timeline for withdrawal. And somehow now Donald Trump gets to be both the person who caused the death of those 13 soldiers, as well as a person who gets to politically benefit from it, even at the expense of violating federal law as it pertains to photography and campaign ads at Arlington National Cemetery, and all the way to the extent where his campaign staff got into a confrontation with workers at the solemn gravesite.
He was in Section 60, which is the burial site for service members recently lost. Apparently, this visit turned into some kind of physical incident, and it sounds like people who were on the staff of the cemetery were trying to block a Trump campaign photographer from going over and taking pictures of Trump there at the cemetery. Your reaction to that? I mean, my understanding from visiting Arlington National Cemetery, I was looking at the website this morning. I mean, they have a lot of rules and restrictions prohibiting election-related activity there. What was your reaction when you saw this?
Yeah, I saw the breaking news this morning about this, the story that came out. It's important that, a report was filed. I think it should be investigated. We should find out.
I want to read for you an email exchange that was between NPR reporters Quill Lawrence and David Folkenflik, stating exactly the nature of this confrontation that happened at Arlington National Cemetery. And I want you to listen to the character or the lack thereof that is not just rampant in MAGA land. It is at the very top of the food chain. Donald Trump and his top advisors, this is how they carried themselves. They created a confrontation at a cemetery, at Arlington National Cemetery. Quote, NPR has learned that two members of former President Trump's campaign had a verbal and physical altercation with an official at Arlington National Cemetery on Monday. A source with knowledge of the event said the cemetery official tried to prevent Trump staffers from filming and photographing in a section where recent U.S. casualties are buried. The source said Arlington's officials had made clear that only a cemetery staff member could photograph in the area known as Section 60. When the cemetery official tried to prevent Trump campaign staff from entering Section 60, campaign staff verbally abused and pushed the official aside, the source said. President Trump participated in a wreath-laying ceremony at the cemetery on Monday. The event marked the third anniversary of a deadly attack on U.S. troops in Afghanistan as U.S. forces withdrew. The Trump campaign has blamed President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, now the Democratic presidential nominee, for the chaotic withdrawal. Quote, "There was no physical altercation as described, and we are prepared to release footage if such defamatory claims are made. The fact is, a private photographer was permitted on the premises, and for whatever reason, an unnamed individual, clearly suffering from a mental health episode, decided to physically block members of President Trump's team during a very solemn ceremony." And that's from Stephen Chung, the communications director of Trump's campaign. The problem is that that official had intentions of reporting and actually filing a police report. But because they feared retribution, this is from later reporting from NPR, because they feared retribution from MAGA land, they chose not to file the report. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with goons. We're dealing with barbarians who have absolutely no respect for anyone other than people that they can use for their own personal power. In fact, they don't even respect the people that they use. There was a recent report of a black Trump supporter who was called a slave by Trump campaign officials. That's just one of many instances where people who support Donald Trump have found that they are not even respected, though they support Donald Trump. This is all about Trump and his ego. And the fact that Donald Trump has been able to amass such a powerful movement that is about nothing else but satiating his ego and his arrogance and his pride and his vanity truly speaks volumes about just how far gone this country really is. In fact, I think that, again, this is a reflection on human nature, that there will always be people out there, so long as you can erect a golden image and set it up high. And this golden image is the fatted calf of Donald Trump. And they look at the success that he has. They look at the money that he has. They look at the fame and the notoriety that he has. And there are millions of little wannabe Donald Trumps all over the country now who are making themselves in the image of Donald Trump. It is the image of a man who would take advantage of our fallen soldiers on the solemn gravesite, Arlington National Cemetery, and he would use it against the law. The law doesn't mean anything to this man or his staff. He would use that for his own personal glorification. And now millions of Americans are looking at him and saying, that's who I want to be like. They want to be like Donald Trump. God help us. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe to this channel, Really American, where we see very clearly who Donald Trump is and what MAGA truly represents.